Welcome to my kitchen, everyone. You're watching Rogers Farm to Fork. My name's Chef Connie Powers. Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of Red Door Ranch, a farm in Bobcaygeon. There I met with Stephanie and Luke Leahy and their 3 children, and we came up with a meal to cook with you today that her family enjoys as well. It's a French-Canadian dish called tourtiere, and it's mostly around the holidays. So we took some of her beef, some of her pork, and we're going to make a tourtiere today. I'm going to show you 2 ways: a full pie that you can serve to a group or to on a family dinner, or I'm going to show you how to make some little hand pies that are great to have as snacks, lunches, and that kind of thing. But what I want to start off with today is something that is very simple. It goes with a lot of meals around the holidays. It's cranberry sauce. And if you've ever made your own cranberry sauce, you know how easy this is. If you haven't and you've bought it, watch this, and I bet you do it this way. You need to buy fresh cranberries or frozen cranberries. So I am making right now for, I'm going to jar this. I'm going to keep it ahead. You could freeze it too. I like to have this in the fridge all through the winter, and we use it on everything. In here, the base recipe is 1 pound of cranberries and 1 to 1 cup of sugar. I have 2 pounds of cranberries and 2 cups of sugar because I want to make a little extra. What you'll notice about any of my recipes in this series is I always show you how to make it in a single batch, and then you can double, triple, or half it even if you need to. So this is the base recipe: 1 pound of cranberries, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of water. I have 2 cups because I'm doubling it. I just mix this all together, and then because it's Christmas, I like to add a little bit of orange citrus, something that changes it up from maybe just a fall cranberry. I cut up an orange. Now this is going to simmer very slowly, and it's going to just take a little bit of time to gel. And I put the entire orange in with the cranberry sugar and water. I take a lemon. I'm going to cut the end off because it looks like there's a lot more rind than I need to have. I'm just cutting the lemon this way. And I'm going to add it into, you can see this is a stock pot. And then I am going to add the seasoning. So I'm going to put in a stick of cinnamon. I have half a star anise. This can really pack a lot of flavor. And so some families like it, some families don't. I'm putting a little one in. And then about 8 whole cloves. All right, and then all we do is put this on the stovetop and let that cook. So starting off, remember this recipe is for a single pie. So this recipe takes 1 pound of ground beef and half a pound of ground pork. You can even use sausage meat if you'd like to give it that little extra flavor. Today you're going to see me making it in a triple form because, again, I'm making for a larger group. But I will always tell you the amount for a single pie. So we're going to go over here and we're going to start browning our ground beef. So the beef is looking like it is, I don't want any pink, I want it all cooked. Even though we're going to be putting it into a pie shell once it cools, I don't want anything uncooked. I'm leaving the juice inside. This ground beef from Red Door Ranch, there's not a lot of fat. It's very lean. So the meat's juice that's coming there will be delicious in our meat pie. It's not fat. Okay, we will add this to a large, I've got a bowl here, any kind of a kettle, anything that I can make the mix in. If you're making for 1 pie, you won't need anything so large. Let's put this into our kettle, and we're going to start then putting in the ground pork. So remember, 1 pound of beef to half a pound of pork. And that's a good ratio for you to use. This is a recipe that I got from my French-Canadian grandmother. However, I've changed it quite a bit. Her recipe was meat, potatoes, salt and pepper, maybe a little onion, and I've changed it. I've just added some things that add some flavor. So that's the recipe you're going to be getting today. In this, I'm going to start adding some of our aromatics. So I'm going to add in, looks like a lot, you would be adding in 1 onion to 1 pound of beef. I'm putting in about 4 onions. So the onions and the pork are cooked. You can see that I haven't made it caramelized because we don't want all of the liquid to cook off. So a tourtiere pie is a pie that is meat-based, and it has potatoes in it, it has onions, carrots, spices. It's a full meal. So we have had to assemble some of our things. I'm trying to take you through the assembly. We've browned the beef, and we're going to go back to the original recipe of being 1 pound of beef, 1/2 pound of ground pork, and about 1 onion to every pound of beef. We're going to put the pork and onion now into our kettle because we're assembling our filling. Now's a good time to add in our carrots. Now that was 1 cup of carrots to 1 pound of beef. We can add in now some spinach and celery. I know spinach doesn't go in everything, but this gives nice color, it gives nice flavor, and nobody knows it's there. So this is about 1/2 cup of diced fine spinach and about 1/2 cup of diced fine celery. All right, so we're going to brown this up a little bit, just caramelize it slightly so that everything starts to release its sweetness. All right, we have added the beef, the pork, the onion, carrot, celery, and some really fine spiced spinach. We're going to continue on with our filling. We need to let that cool a bit before we add anything else. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rogers Farm to Fork, and today we're taking you on a tour of Red Door Ranch in Bobcaygeon, and we're making a French-Canadian holiday dish called tourtiere. It is a meat pie that is savory, and it is a hearty meal. We went to Red Door Ranch, and we brought home some ground beef, some ground pork, and today we're making the filling for the tourtiere. What we have in here is our ground meat and our aromatics. So you see quite a bit of filling, and you also see that it's very hot. I am making some for other people. I'm making some for the freezer, so I've decided to make a large batch. You don't need to do this. The recipe at the end is for 1 pie. So let's mix all of this up. Now, before this, I made some mashed potatoes, and it is 1 potato per pound of beef. Always go in that ratio. So what should I have here? I've got about 3.5 mashed potatoes. I mashed them with a little bit of butter and a little bit of cream, and I let them cool a bit. What I have done though is I've left them chunky, because when you cut into the pie, yes, this adds some binding for all of the filling, but it also adds a nice texture. So I'm going to add in the mashed potatoes. Now, I might want to add there, and it's in the recipe, when you drain your potatoes, you need to keep the potato water, because that's what we're going to use to loosen this up and to make it all marry into a nice filling. Here's the seasonings are coming. So let's look at this plate. We have quite an array. We have kosher salt. It is going to be 1 teaspoon of kosher salt per pound of hamburger. We have black pepper, and the recipe will up, you'll see the proportions. We have cinnamon, thyme, sage, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, ground mustard. All of these things will make this pie taste delicious. We're adding all of that in. And that's where the smell hits. When it comes up from the warmed food, it really smells delicious. Okay, here's where my recipe takes a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a turn, but I like it. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. These are reconstituted cranberries. So earlier today, I put a little bit of water and I brought them back to plumpness. I drained the water and I'm going to add some in. Now, I haven't done this before, so I'm a little curious as to what this is going to look like. I would say that in your recipe, with 1 pound of ground beef, we're probably looking at about a 1/4 cup of cranberries. Let's stir that up and let's see how that looks. Okay, I'm adding them all. I think it's a nice addition. There's a little bit of water still left. I think I like that too. The last thing that we're going to add in is a little bit of grated apple, diced apple, any way you want. What's that going to do? It's going to give you some sweetness. It's going to give you some juice, some tenderness. It's just going to add a little bit extra to your tourtiere. I think this is going to add some nice texture, and it's going to cook down in the filling. So let's add that. So cranberries and apples, that's the sweetness and the savory. Now I'm going to start adding a little bit of the potato water, and we'll look down into the pot so that you can see I've put in about half of my potato water, and I like that. I can see that it's a little juicier and it's letting everything release. Now, before we started this, we also started making some cranberry sauce. Let me set this aside, and I want to show you the cranberry sauce. So it's simmering away on the stove. You can see it's starting to really look like a cranberry sauce. It's easy peasy. But you might be thinking, well, how do I puree up all of this? What I do is when it's turned into a sauce, I use some tongs and I will take out all of the citrus and I will fish out the cinnamon stick, the cloves, and the star anise. I can smell it. The citrus in there is beautiful. Let's put it back and continue with our pie. While I'm getting the filling ready, we're going to take you on the tour of Red Door Ranch. Enjoy this. Welcome to our series Farm to Fork. We're here at Red Door Ranch in Bobcaygeon, Ontario with Stephanie Leahy. She's going to take us around. She's going to show you all the things that this farm is about. So Stephanie, tell us, do you have a farming background? What makes you come onto a farm like this?
I am not from a farm. I grew up kind of in the country, but not on a farm. I grew up riding horses. But my husband Luke, he grew up on a farm in Buckhorn, and he's been working in agriculture his whole career. So that's where his knowledge comes in, and I learn every day along with the kids, and yeah.
So you purchased this farm in 2016.
Yes.
What led you to Bobcaygeon? What led you to this farm?
We always dreamt of having our own farm. Mm-hmm. We had a little house in town at Fowler's Corners, and it was just always kind of our goal to come out here. So Bobcaygeon was a nice spot between our two off-farm jobs, Buckhorn and Lindsay. So at that time we bought the farm with my mom. She lives here as well, in a separate little spot. Yeah, it was just always somewhere we wanted to come and raise our kids and have the lifestyle.
So you both have external employment,
yeah.
And then you work the farm and you market extraordinarily, I can see. So when you arrived at this farm in 2016, what did it look like?
Well, obviously all the barns are here. They're over 100 years old, but there was just hay on the fields, which is all that we still do now. There were no animals when we bought it. They had rented out the fields because there's an older couple. We still keep in contact with the family that had the farm for generations, so that's really nice, and they get to come back and see what we're doing here now.
So when you arrived here, were there children, or were you?
Oh, so no. Actually, yes, we did bring our first daughter. She was 1, and since then we've had 2 more girls, so we have 3 girls here now.
So all they know is this farm.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's go take a look at some of the inside of the barn.
Sounds good.
To the laying hens. So in your farm store, you sell the eggs. How many eggs do you gather in a day?
20 every other day, so, well, I'd say a dozen a day probably.
A dozen a day?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And
There's
so
a
they
few
stay in here for safety? They can go outside?
They're able to go out too, yep. Yeah, these guys, what's the date, the 6th today? They've got another 20 days, so they'll basically double in size in the next 20 days. They grow fast, yeah.
So how does it work? You're saying 9 weeks. Then these go to, do you butcher them or they go to
No, we don't do it. They go to, yeah.
And then you start again.
Yep.
Right? And so where do you get the chicks? Do you bring the chicks in or do you hatch?
We get the chicks from local feed stores, so we use Alliance AgriTurf in Fenland most of the time.
Okay.
We have hatched our own laying hens. A lot of those are eggs that we hatched, but to have the capacity to hatch 100 at a time successfully would be a lot. We can't sell chicken off the farm. We can't. You have to be part of the artisanal chicken program, but you have to raise, I think, 600 or more chickens a year, and we're just not at that yet.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so.
Then these chickens can be sold in your own farm store.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I meant.
We're going to do Kinmount Farmers Market a couple of times, and the Barn and Bunkie in Fenland hosts events out back of her store. So we've been there a couple of times.
And then you've got such an online presence that people can...
Trying. Yeah.
It really is a great...
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we want to promote that obviously you can get, basically in the summertime especially, all of your food from within 20 kilometers of your house around here.
So what's going on here? What do we see?
So these calves have just been weaned, so they're kind of separated from their moms. Their moms are pregnant again, and we just don't want them stealing the nutrients from their moms, basically.
So they are eating hay, and then they
get grain as well for now, and then once they're fully weaned, then they'll be back out on grass. They were born the end of last summer, likely. So coming up on a year this summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you find that, like, between the two of you working the farm, working external, do you find that you have one focus? He has one focus, so is he taking care of the heavy livestock, and you're doing all the online presence?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I do the bookkeeping and kind of like the overall organizing. He's hands-on in here every day, twice a day. The girls and I take care of the chickens mostly, which is nice for them.
So your kids are involved, they have chores, and that's great.
There's one who likes to supervise more than anything.
Well, maybe that's needed too.
Yeah. But
so you have on this farm chickens, cows,
and pigs.
And pigs.
Yeah.
And turkeys.
Oh yeah, and turkeys in the fall. They'll be coming, I think it's June, middle of June we get them. And we're going to raise a bunch for Thanksgiving, and then we'll have another set ready for Christmas fresh this year.
How many cows do you have on?
15 to 20 cows, so ones who have had calves already. We've got some heifers coming up and some steers. It's hard to keep track of the numbers.
So the meat box program you have, I really like that you have a small meat box. It looks so approachable. And how, like, if somebody was in the GTA, are they able to access that, or is that...
If they want to come out, we don't have the ability to ship.
No, you don't. Like some farms will go a certain hub of pickup.
Oh, I see. No, we haven't created that yet.
So it's all pick up on the farm.
Pick up on the farm, and we do local delivery,
okay.
especially for the meat boxes. This is Miss Mud. Yeah.
What's her name?
Mud.
Mud.
She loves the mud. Don't you?
Now this is a certain breed that's like this.
There's Berkshire. I can't remember if that's the one she is.
There's much to pick.
She's pokey.
Yeah, she's pokey. Now, she has had piglets?
Oh, yeah.
So is she one of your regular breeders? Like, is she...
Yeah.
They're silly animals, aren't they?
Yeah, we are actually getting a new boar and a couple more sows.
So you have each a job. You have 3 children. You have a huge property. You have all this livestock. You have the marketing. How do you manage all of this?
It's a lot, to be honest, but Luke will come out in the mornings before he leaves for his job, check on everybody, feed, and then we're off to school and off to work and back home again. We all have dinner together, and then we all come out to the barn together.
So we are in the Red Door Ranch farm store. You can see that it is come in. Your order might be ready if you've ordered online, or the freezers are full.
Yep.
And you have quarter beefs and half pig.
Yeah, a couple times a year we do wholesale orders for those who want their meat that way. And then most of the year round we have beef and pork and chicken. More chicken available in the summer just due to weather. So on our website we'll have some of the grill packages available for the summer. Our website is www.reddoorranchbobcajun.com. And we're going to do some summer boxes with burgers, steaks, sausages, bacon of course, and some eggs.
Great. Welcome back. That was a great tour. When you're on that farm and you're going through all of the barns and you're going through all of the paddocks, you can really have a sense of family there. Let's get back to our tourtiere. So now I've cleaned up the kitchen. Our cranberry sauce is still simmering. I'm going to show you how to jar that up and preserve it for future meals. Right now we're going to start assembling the tourtiere pies. I previously made some pastry. Pastry is of your choice, whichever way you want to do it. I'm going to show you though today, we can use a traditional pie pastry. It's a butter or a shortening or a lard, whichever way you make it. You can also use a puff pastry, a pre-made, and that's a wonderful way to make the little hand pies. Right now we're going to just put some flour on our bench. And this is pastry that has cooled a bit. It's quite firm to the touch. When you make pastry, you should always let it rest a little bit before you immediately start to roll it. You'll be able to handle it a little less if it's cooled. The filling is cool. It has wonderful color. I really like that addition of the cranberries and the carrots and that little bit of spinach. Okay, so now I have filled this pie. I'm going to give it a little bit of a pat so it's not full of air. And then we're going to prepare the top. The edges, so many different techniques of this. I use the thumb and the push. All right, there we have just a little 8-inch. This will be perfect for a light supper. Make some steam holes. We're going to put on a little bit of egg and cream wash on top of it, a little bit of parsley on the top as a little garnish, and there you have it. We have a pie that's ready for the oven. Let's go on to show you how to make some hand pies. I'm just going to make a small ring, so I'm going to make the circle. I press it into the press. Don't overfill because I've learned the hard way. When you overfill, they split open in the cooking process. And then you just do this, give it a little push, and peel the excess off. And there you have a perfect little hand pie. That's so appetizing, and it's absolutely enough for a child without feeling like they're overwhelmed with a big piece of pie. I'm going to continue making those, but I wanted to end the episode with showing you the cranberry sauce. So if you look at it, and there's no gelatin needed, there's no thickener. It is going to cook on its own. There's so much natural pectin in a cranberry that all it takes is a little bit of water and a little bit of sugar, and the natural pectin's going to take over. You can see that I have fished out all of the citrus, the star anise, and the cinnamon stick. This can be discarded, and I have now the cranberry sauce ready to jar. Make sure the lid is clean so that you can get a good seal. And there you have it, homemade cranberry sauce. We are going to put the pies in the oven. We're going to have this cranberry sauce. All of that is a wonderful winter meal. I hope you enjoyed the tour of Red Door Ranch today. We enjoyed having you. Until next time, keep cooking.